All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. How is everybody doing? Give people just a moment to roll in here and get started on the stream. And then we can go ahead and dive right into it. We can talk about the currency heat map, which I feel like is a good place to start today with everything moving around a little bit. We can jump right into things. How's everybody doing? Hey, Amit, Made, Rustenberg TV. Hey, Phil, how are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for showing up again today for another live stream where we go through the markets and we talk about what is moving and what is not moving. So let's start where we usually start. We'll go to the currency heat map. I want to say to my friends out there who are tuning into the stream for the first time, if you just saw it live or whatever, if you want to come back and do this with us more in the future, we do these streams Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. US Eastern. You can tune in, hang out, and look at markets with myself. And I do this show just to give people an idea of what I'm looking at, as well as just to go through some thoughts and kind of help out the community, if you will, as well as just kind of grow our audience here of realistic traders. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that is moving out here in the markets today. The pound seems to be taking on some heat. And then you've got the euro also sort of mixed right now. Came down a little bit against the dollar. I noticed that this morning, but also the euro doing okay against the pound today, which is taking, like I said, a lot of heat there. Then you've also got what's the Canadian dollar doing today? The Canadian dollar is strong again. So the CAD was super strong yesterday. So looking like we're getting a little bit of follow through here on the Friday follow through, if you will. And then you got Japan doing well, decently well against some of the other currencies. And then you have a dollar day that is looking bullish. So lots of things moving today, lots of Friday action going on in the markets. So we are going to be talking about some trade ideas. We're going to be looking at the markets together and seeing what is going on. Remember that you can check out the currency heat map anytime you want on the website. You can just go to a1trading.com and you can bookmark it. And you can also go over here and look at retail sentiment. This is another, probably our most popular one. People like to see what is going on each currency pair. So if you're looking at the euro, for example, you can see right now that euro dollar is 63% short and 36% long. That tells you what retail traders are up to. I also have a video on this. If you ever just search up retail Forex sentiment trader Nick on YouTube, you could check that out as well. So with that said, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at some of the most moving things that are on this list. So we can take a look at some GBP pairs today for sure. We can go ahead and jump right over there and take a look at pound against the dollar for the day, just to keep an eye on what's really moving. So we'll take a look at pound dollar here. Lots of stuff loads up on the screen just because I've been looking at this pair quite a bit. So let's look at the pound today and see how things are going. So by the way, happy Friday to everyone in the chat, and thank you so much for all the support this week. We've had some great streams, lots of great questions coming in, and lots of engagement from you guys. So shout out to everybody here. Shout out, Pacific Inc., The King, Frederick, Phil, Jay William. Good to see everybody in the chat today. Things are liven up in the chat, so thanks for being here with me. So the pound dollar is going to be an interesting one to talk about today. So the pound dollar, let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can just do that. You can see on the pound dollar on the 4-hour chart, this thing has really just been a back and forth sort of thing recently. We've seen a lot of move. We saw some conviction to the downside, some nice moves to the upside, back and forth, back and forth. So now it seems like we're on a sell train again after reaching the top of this range. But I am still pretty bullish on the pound. I think it has potential to rally and to move higher here in the next few weeks. We will see. I still think that at some point the pound dollar is going to head back to the previous highs that we've been watching for on that daily chart. This move back here in February all the way up to 1.4 for 1 and 4.2 even. Yeah, we made it to 1.42. I do think that at some point the pound dollar will appreciate up to that point. For now, though, it seems like it's stuck in this range. And the thing I'm going to watch out for going into next week with the pound dollar is any sign of breaking this point. is going to be a super bullish outlook for me. So I think that, what would really get me interested in picking up more pound positions would be a move above that previous resistance there at 1.4. So that seems to be our biggest barrier for fellow pound bulls out there. Keeping an eye on the idea of this break 1.4 is going to be a big deal to watch out for. Where we currently sit, we've pulled back off of this zone, again, finding resistance as we came up into the pink there. You can see moved right up in there and then found resistance pretty quickly. However, it's again one of those things when you're in a choppy market, it's kind of tough to find direction until you get the key break. So arguably, you could have argued, if you're looking at this trend line, depending how you draw it, this is why trend lines to me are not the best tool, because, you've got, if you drew it like this, you got the trend line still intact, right? Because again, we're drawing across the lows or the highs. Hey, let me get a feedback check from you guys in the chat. Comment really quick. Do you use, if you're using trend lines, if you don't use trend lines at all, then that's fine. But I want to see what you guys have to say. Let's say we draw this trend line. It's not a huge difference, but let me just see. How would you draw this trend line? Would you draw it more like this? This is option number 1. Okay. Across the closes. Okay. Number 1. Let me get that right. And again, this is, I like to do this as sort of a group activity because it gives everyone the chance to chime in. And I also want to see what you guys have to say. So here's option 1. Option 2 would be along the lows. Do you use the lows, number 2, or the opens, or sorry, the closes and opens? Let me know. Comment 1 or 2. Which trend line makes more sense to you? Wicks or along the opens and closes? Let me know. I'm just curious what you guys have to say. Because look at this. This is the interesting thing about trend lines. What you're going to see here is, check out the chat. Look at what everybody is saying. You can read along and you can see, Fox uses 2, Abhishek uses 1, you have LN using 2. So the thing is, this is the confusing part about trend lines to me. You can see we've got a lot of very smart and kind people out there that are disagreeing, right? They're using different trend lines. And that is the whole point with this, you guys. When we're drawing trend lines, the major problem that I have with trend lines is that everybody draws them differently. Now, to be fair, same thing with Fibonacci retracements, right? We could say the exact same thing with Fibonacci retracements. It's not that these things are useless. It's that you have to understand that they are a little bit subjective. So if we go here and we say, okay, there's the bottom of the fib from the wicks, right? That's option number 1. But what about option number 2? Well, you go from the closes and you go from here to here. Those are different fibs. Now they're pretty similar, but here is the point, you guys. When things, thank you guys, by the way, for all your feedback. That helps me just to go along with this. Here's the point I'm trying to make. Let me get right up in your face on this just to let you know. Okay, so when people draw things differently, the reason that matters is because it changes how technical traders out there respond to different levels. If a lot of people are looking at the same thing, it has a bit more power than if nobody is looking at that. So the reason I mention that is because you have to just take it with a grain of salt. When you look at a trend line, some people will be, oh, you have to draw it exactly like this, and they'll be so pinpoint. But you guys saw in the chat, people draw these things differently, and it's okay. It's not a right or wrong. It's just understanding that there are differences out there when drawing these different technical indicators. Now, the reason I'm a big fan of horizontal supply and demand is because it's a bit, not perfect, but a bit less subjective. Because when you have this level and you draw it as a zone, I feel like most people would agree with the way I've drawn it. Now you're going to have some people who are like, no, Nick, you have to draw it exactly, and it has to be a pinpoint price. You have to draw it right there, and that's the only one that matters. And to those people, then that's fine. But from my experience, from working with a lot of traders, you guys, you already see, we've got a lot of people in the stream hanging out. Different people draw different things. And as a technical trader, you're trying to capture the emotions and the overall idea of the crowd, right? The people who are involved. So when we're looking at this technically, if we're drawing a trend line here on the pound dollar, I draw it just like as a line of best fit. I try and incorporate as many wicks, closes, and opens as I can. And I understand that it's not perfect and that's never going to be perfect because, again, a bit of subjectivity there. So when we look at the pound dollar, that's how I draw it. And from what I can tell, it looks like it's testing the lower limits, depending on how you draw this, right? If you drew it like this, it's still sort of testing the lower limits of this trend line. So price is pulling back, yes, but this is where even with trend lines, technically, I think that there's a zone capacity, right? So you have this whole zone is sort of a pullback concept in an overall movement higher. Okay, so this is sort of a trend line zone, which is weird, but that's why, you know, when I'm looking at this, I'm not saying, oh, it's clearly broken just now. Now, there are times where trend lines are so much more clear. Like right here, look at this. This is a pretty clear trend line because it depends, you know, whether you're drawing it with wicks or with closes, you can see it's very similar, right? So if price comes up to that point and you're a bear and you say, hey, I think it's coming lower from here, you know, you head up to that point and you say, okay, well, it's a pretty close zone. Even if it is a zone, it's fairly close. And that's why we give our stop loss a little bit of room to breathe, right? That's the whole point. Little technical lesson here for you on a Friday. Things are closing out in the markets this week, of course, but I just wanted to go through some concepts with you and talk about trend lines because I had some questions about that yesterday and I wanted to try and go through that the best I can. So with the pound dollar, where we're currently at, I think you have some demand just underneath. I think that there's room for the pound dollar to push higher and to maybe even try and make that break. Now, I want to say, yes, we're in a range-bound market, but we've had a lot of chances here where sellers could have gotten strong enough, but they were not able to, and we've continued to form higher lows overall. Now, if that changes, then don't get me wrong, we could see, you know, one of these guys come into play. But for the time being, it does seem like there's demand for the pound and that prices could rally up to that next high. Just my thought on the pound dollar. What do you guys think? Are you bullish or bearish on the pound? We can do the old bullish or bearish check. Let me know in the chat whether you're bullish or bearish on the pound dollar. Let's get to sentiment check here in the chat. While you're at it, if you're new here, remember to subscribe to the channel. Check it out down below. There's more free stuff coming your way. If you enjoy my content and you want more live streams like this, we got a lot of stuff coming your way. So check it out. Smash that subscribe and like button while you're here hanging out with me. And don't forget to tune in next week because there's lots of stuff happening next week. Next week, there's the big NFP news, which you already know. We're going to be live streaming that and taking it and covering it live. So I got you guys on that one, but make sure to subscribe, click that notification bell so you can hang out with me in the future. All right. So pound dollar, that's probably enough for that one. Let's take a look at euro pound here because I talked about it yesterday. Ended up taking a trade and I got stopped out on it. So unfortunately, I was thinking that, you know, again, the example of trend lines here, I had a trend line here. I liked the break and I ended up taking a short here right at the worst time possible. So if you guys think I am a perfect trader, then you are sadly mistaken because I make mistakes and I take losses too. So unfortunately, I took a stop loss just above this previous high. It does look like it's headed back to retest this. And similar thing to the pound dollar, you have this higher low syndrome, but I was looking for that lower push with a relatively tight stop. So unfortunately did not get that and took a small stop loss on this one, but it does seem like it's still testing a pretty key spot of resistance here is the euro pound. So going to be keeping an eye on this one going into next week. Maybe there's a chance for me to re-enter. The cool thing about, you know, accepting a quick stop loss is that you still have the chance to re-enter. People think like, oh, a stop loss is the end of my trade and I've lost all my money and it's the end. But the reality is that if your stops are small, if your position size is not massive and you take a decent sized stop loss or a small stop loss, you're not going to be killing your account. You're just taking a small loss and you're moving on, right? So that is the thought process on euro pound. Testing resistance here, plenty of room to the downside in my opinion, but going to be looking for signs of weakness going into next week. So I think we're probably going to close out here in the end of the week without much more movement, but we'll see if that's, you know, if there's any last minute Friday buys or sells. But I think euro pound in the grand scheme of things on the daily chart even is in a downtrend. I think that it has the capacity to continue lower. We will see if the pound can get strong enough for that. But again, pretty weak week for the pound. So we'll see if the pound can bounce back next week. So anyways, let's take a look at Euro USD while we're on the Euro path. So the euro dollar actually took a little bit of a tumble today, rolling over there pretty nicely. So this is one that we have not seen in a minute. We haven't seen the euro dollar really even dip much at all. We've had nothing but bullishness for the euro for a while now. And you can see now it looks like maybe it's a bit top heavy here as we come into the end of this week. We're getting that Friday reversal, which occasionally happens in the currency market. If you're not familiar with the Friday reversal or the end of the week reversal, sometimes you get these cycles in markets, because you got to remember, a lot of times for the biggest movers of this market, there are people that are basically like they're big banks with clients. Let's say that there's a big bank and that you are a client. Okay, so you're a multi-zillionaire and you are the client of this bank. Well, if you want to buy a tremendous amount of euros, right? If you're a ginormous bull on the euro, whether, maybe it's for your business, maybe your business, you are looking to buy a large amount of euros, right? So that you can do business over in Europe, right? You need to go to your bank and you say, okay, I want to buy some euros. And the bank says, how much do you want? You say, I don't know, $3 billion worth of euros. Well, the bank says, okay, yeah, we can do that. We can do that in this price range and we can do it during this time and we can try and get to you by Monday. And then the bank says, yeah, we'll do that and we'll do your business. That's their job, is to transact for you, right? And so then they go on this massive buying spree and they have to buy up euros so that they can give that to you as their client, right? And that's what causes these prices. The biggest movements in the currency market is when you have large demand for the euro, large demand for the dollar, right? As people move their money into different economies. That's the whole concept, right? So when people talk about trading like the banks are a lot of times just executing large orders for clients. So that is one of the biggest money movers in the currency market. So when we look at the euro having a little bit of a bounce back here, we see a lot of people really, pushing that euro higher. A lot of buying going on the euro in the last several weeks. Now, where does that stop? Well, eventually things get a little bit stretched and they can reverse. But again, not something I like to do. I don't like to try and call tops and bottoms. So I've been a bit cautious and been on the sidelines with the euro recently. But as we look at it, the potential here for more upside, I do think that if this does look like just a pullback, if we get the bounce back, we could be headed up to tag this area here. Maybe next week we see tagging this. But what happens a lot of times during that midweek reversal is you get people who are buying throughout the week, and then there's like profit taking or reversing towards the second half of the week. And this is a very common theme. Like whenever you get these big spikes in buying, a lot of times it's met with some retracement. So that seems to be what's going on this week. We had nice bullish pressure on the euro, and then now we're giving back some of that. And again, if that cycle continues, could see a spike going into next week. And that's a very common theme that you get in trending markets, is you get the run, the pullback. The run, the pullback. It's like breathing in and breathing out. That's like how the market oftentimes works. You can see when it gets going, you have something like this where you get, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So it's impossible to know exactly when the pullbacks are done or when they're if they're going to be full on reversals. But for me, it's better just to assume that a market will continue to be in a trend rather than trying to call the reversal all the time. So I'm not a big fan of buying the euro personally. I'm not trading this one at this time, but again, for the bulls out there, it does look like it's maybe headed to rally up to 1.215 plus. So we'll see. With that said, we'll take a look on the gold market next. We took a look at some pound pairs. Now we can take a look at gold, see what's going on with gold. Gold is an interesting spot right now. We'll drop down to the 4-hour chart, make this a bit more visible. And there we go. So the gold market seems to be holding this level with a vengeance. Every time sellers get priced down to this point, you can see that buyers come roaring back. And so that's a pretty good sign for gold bulls out there. That level being 1770, 1765, somewhere in that range. So this range that we've highlighted seems to be an area where buyers just want to hold this thing. Now, as we bounce off of the lows, the question is, can this finally be the push to get us back to 1800 and maybe even 1810? So this previous high right around 1800, we did not cross 1800. We were just shy of 1800. I think price probably, if it does want to stay bullish, will make its move up to that point here. But the level that we've been talking about on gold is a move up to 1810. So 1810 right above this. So the next thing higher there. But again, this is another not currency pair, but another chart or commodity that I am not super incredibly bullish on, just because I think that the US dollar has some room to the upside, especially with the deep retracement that it's done recently. I think it has room to bounce back. So when I look at gold, I'm saying, okay, yeah, I think it has moved technically, like from a technical analysis perspective. I think it has room to head up and tag 1810. But I think on the bigger picture, you've got still structures of a downtrend on the daily chart. And until that really truly reverses, not going to be super bullish on gold personally. So, I think that you have 1810 and you also have 1850 as major levels for gold in terms of short-term targets on this uptrend. But again, just another example like we talked about earlier with trend lines being a bit difficult, because you can see, we had this trend line drawn here, but you could have also drawn it like slightly different, right? Could have drawn it tighter, could have drawn it looser. So it's one of those things. You just have to understand that trend lines can be a bit subjective there. What do you guys think? Are you bullish or bearish on gold? Comment in the chat really quick for me. Let me know what you think about the gold market. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Let me know. And that also just gives everybody a chance to see what everybody else is thinking. So, yeah, I think for now, it does look like it has, this area seems strong for bulls. If that breaks, there could be the trade there as well, right? If you're a bear on gold and you're waiting for bearish structure to form, if this starts to break, there could be room, to look for this trade setup. But it doesn't seem like that's the case right now. It seems like buyers are strong enough to hold this zone going into the end of the week. So valiant effort by the gold bulls for sure, holding this zone pretty well this week throughout all the volatility. Bullish, bearish, neutral. Neutral says ish. Bearish, BYS. Bearish, bearish. Cool. Thank you guys for your feedback. It always helps just to see what everybody else is looking at too. Yeah, so that is what I'm looking at on gold. Really nothing else to say there for me. I think short term it has some bullish room, but longer term I think bears are still somewhere lurking. This is actually a good comment here by Show Teeth. As the vaccine is released, safe haven is in danger. And that's true, right? As things sort of, gold is considered or arguably a safe haven investment. And people buy safe haven investments when they're concerned about markets, right? The future of markets. Well, if things are looking more and more optimistic in markets, that doesn't bode well for gold, right? Pound yen, sure, we can take a look at pound yen. GBP, JPY. All right, so pound yen suffering a little bit here, pulling back pretty sharp. This previous level just got wiped away today in trading. So let's take a look at the pound yen a little bit closer. So pound yen, I still think that it's probably headed back to the previous high at some point here. This could be a pullback to this zone right here. For those of you guys who are shorter term traders, might be some pullback opportunity. I mean, it's kind of tough because it's a Friday and you've got the weekend around the corner. But from just a technical view, it looks really interesting. That 38.2 looks pretty smooth. You can see the pound getting weak as the yen gets a bit stronger here. And what we notice is that it's lined up right there at a previous level of support, plus that fib level. For those of you guys who like those sort of trade setups, looks really clean to me right now. Of course, as always, this is not a show where I tell you what to do with your money. Please remember, this is not financial advice. Do your own due diligence before you make any trades, as always. But from my view, pound yen looks pretty interesting here at this level. So keep an eye on that. All right. And just a reminder also, while we're running the banners, take a look down below. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to smash that subscribe button and tune into future streams. We do these Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. US Eastern. We started about 26 minutes ago. So whatever time that is for you, you can come back and hang out with us. We do it every day, and we just go through markets and talk trade ideas throughout the day. So if you're looking for more ideas in the future, again, check it out. Hang out with us in the future there. So yeah, so pound yen actually probably a really interesting little trade setup here, in my opinion. I'll watch this one going into next week. Maybe if there's some bullishness on the pound, we could capture some of that pound yen move. Quick story for you guys. I made a post in the announcements section for members. I basically said, I pulled this up. I'll pull this up. So I took a pound yen trade that I got stopped out of, and it was really unfortunate because it would have been a massive, massive winner. We probably would have taken profit today, just as things rolled back over. But I took a pound yen trade that went crazy, crazy up, right? I bought it, but then I got stopped out right before that. So I mentioned to members, unfortunately, that I got stopped out, but I was happy for all the people out there. I got a lot of messages from people in the chat from different members who were like, Nick, I took that trade. I liked it myself, took the pound yen trade, and it's running great. So congratulations to any of you guys who are out there in the chat right now. For those of you guys who are VIP members, if you caught the pound yen move and you held on to it, then huge congratulations to you, because this week was just a massive winner for pound yen, except here on the Friday. But if you stayed in, you probably caught some great moves there to the upside. So congrats to my GJ bulls out there this week. Like I said, it's a little bit of a bummer that I didn't get to stay into the trade myself. I got barely stopped out before it did me dirty like that. But again, it's the idea that counts, and sometimes it's cool to know that other people are winning inside of the group, even if I got robbed. It happens, and it's all right. But congrats again to those of you guys who caught pound yen this week. Again, I might be looking for the chance to re-enter here going into next week. For those guys who are premium members, if I take a trade, I will share, of course, my entry and my stops, all of that stuff with you guys, maybe on the rebound next week. So keep an eye on that for those of you guys who are members. If you're not already a member and you have any interest in joining it, I share all of my trades, as well as we have chat rooms, and there's live webinars that go on with some of our other analysts here at A1 Trading. It is not just me, although you guys just see me on this stream. We've got a whole team of people that make all of this possible. So I want to say there's a promo code down below. This is the last day of our sale. If you are interested in joining us, now is your chance to get involved with our community for a very discounted rate, 25% off of our gold membership. Go down below to the description there, and you can just grab that link and also grab the promo code and join us inside of the group. Again, you get trade alerts, you get access to our chat room. There's webinars that go on throughout the week answering questions for people who are trying to get better at this stuff. And most importantly, looking for a community of other down-to-earth traders. So if you've been planning on joining us, today is the day. It's your best offer in terms of price to join us for a one-time fee. So check it out. Click that gold membership down below and come join us if you have any interest in being a part of the community. All right. So with that said, we've talked about pound yen. We've talked about a couple different pound pairs today: euro pound, pound dollar, pound yen. We talked about gold, and we've talked about some euro pairs. Maybe we can cross over to the Pacific a little bit, and we'll take a look at Australian currencies for just a moment and see if there's anything there. But again, like I said, if you have any interest, if you've been planning on joining us in the community, there's your chance. Use that code down below, YT Live, or you'll see it down there. There's information on how you get access to the membership for 25% knocked right off the price. All right, so let's look at some Aussie currency. So we'll look at AUD USD first and see what's going on here. So Aussie dollar, you gotta give it to the bulls here. They've been forming higher lows here as price goes along. Nice little upward move here over the last few weeks here on the Aussie dollar. We did bottom out right around here at 0.75 and found demand since then. Now, we've been struggling, however, with this next zone of resistance. And this is the whole thing. It's kind of like trench warfare, right? When you're talking about major levels of supply and demand, you've got these levels where they're pushing forward or they're pulling back. And us as retail traders, we're trying to figure out, where is the next line in the sand and can we get a breakthrough, right? If this thing breaks through, I've been watching Aussie dollar for a few weeks now. If price can break through that level, I think that there's some great risk reward looking for the run up to the previous high. Because if you notice, there's not a lot in the way of Aussie dollar if things start to get bullish through this level, right? So if we break this level, I think that there's room to run right on up to the next, to the previous high, which is back here. We made this, I believe, in February or March. I can't remember. February. Yep. So right at the end of February, we formed this high. And I do think that if price is able to break through this level, again, keep an eye on this because I think that this has potential, especially as the Australian dollar remains in favoritism, if you will, against the US dollar. I think that that has a lot of chance for that to happen. So that's what I'm looking at on the Aussie dollar. That's the big picture view. For the shorter term traders out there, you are currently seeing price pull back just a bit. We got a little bit of dollar strength today, which is pushing the Aussie down. But you've got some short-term demand seemingly right around where we currently are at. You've also got for the short-term guys and girls out there, you've got this level here at 0.773. So both of these levels look interesting. If you're a bull, if you think this has room to break out and you like these higher lows being formed, I think that if anything, the Aussie dollar looks like more of a buy here personally. Now, of course, these are just my opinions. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing my thoughts. I always have to be careful because you never know when somebody is brand new to trading and they hear me saying that, like, oh yeah, that just means go buy it. And then, they lose a bunch of money if I'm not right. Please know I'm not always right. And it's okay to not be always right as traders. It's more about, when the moves come, when the big one comes, it's like catching the big fish. You got to throw a lot of lines out sometimes to catch the good one. So Sunil says, Nick, you're the best. Thank you very much, Sunil. That's nice of you to say. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, by the way. It is Friday, so hopefully you guys get a little break from the charts if you've been looking at it all week like me. Do something fun, get away for a little bit. And for those of you guys who are newer traders out there still struggling to find your feet, definitely encourage you to, I used to, every weekend, I would back test. I would back test for a few hours every weekend, just going through charts that I wanted to trade. And I would, evaluate my strategy on those charts historically, see how things would have worked out, and get comfortable with that concept of back testing your strategies over and over in the markets. If you have extra time, I always encourage people to if you're very serious about this, take some time to back test. It's free to do. It takes some time, but it's very, very important to understand how your strategy would have performed. Backtesting is not perfect because it's historical, but it's probably one of the best tools that we have. We don't know what the future is, right? So all we have is the past to try and evaluate how strategies perform, right? So we know you aren't always right, Nick. You showed us your mistakes, and that's the reason why I'll trust you. Thank you. Thank you, Made. It's just easier. Like, honestly, you guys, being a trader and a content creator it's like, I have a great situation compared to a lot of people out there. So I'm not complaining, but I am saying, as a trader plus a content creator, it is tough because like sometimes, things are not going super well. Like right now, I've had a tough trading week and a tough trading month, and I still got to get up here and make content. And sometimes, it's like when you get frustrated about your trading, a lot of times it's easy just to step away. And I love making this content. So I love hanging out with you guys and meeting all the different people. You guys would be amazed how many people, they come from the live streams, and then eventually, they're in our Discord community, and I see people and I hang out with people in there. It's all digital, but it's kind of cool just to hear people's journeys. I had somebody send me a message the other day, and they said, Nick, sorry to hear you didn't catch the pound yen trade, but I caught it really well. And I'm taking a vacation this weekend with my spouse. And I thought that was like such a cool message, because I was like, you know what, even though I'm not having the best week, because we have a great community, because we have so many good people involved with it, that person learned something, they got something out of it, and they're doing well for themselves. So that's what it's all about, man. It's trading is up and down. The pros of being a content creator is I get to see some of the people who are out there succeeding, but of course there are cons as well. It is pretty exhausting to talk about trading when it's not going well. A lot of times you just want to step away, but it is what it is. And I'm not here to fake it or to make it seem like it's too good to be true. You guys don't see me driving around in a fancy car. I don't even have a fancy car. But that's just the difference of hopefully what you get out of my content compared to other places. The thing is, there's a lot of people who tout, trading makes them tons of money, and trading, by all means, it can totally make you some great money. There are weeks where I make my old job's salary in one single week. And I'm like, man, that is amazing. I'm so blessed to be able to do that. There are other weeks where I'm like, man, this is so frustrating. Nothing's going my way. But it's reminding yourself, it's taking a step back from your trading sometimes and being like, you know what? In any strategy, there are ups, there are downs, there are frustrations, there are great moments, and understanding that, it's okay to accept the bad in order to get that good at some point, right? Is there any place you look fundamental analysis visually, something like you have for retail sentiment? It's not that easy. The answer is reading a lot of articles. Honestly, there's no like shortcut. Fundamental analysis requires you to do a little bit of work. So yeah. Once you show off with a stupid fancy car and sub, don't you worry, Dennis. We're not going to do that anytime soon. That's not really like who I am. I'd probably cringe myself out if I was like showing off cars and telling you Forex is easy. Like, it's not, man. It is hard. It is a constant journey to trading success. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. And if you guys think it just gets super easy at a point and you just start making tons of money, you're very, very sadly mistaken. I went to school for computer science. I worked my butt off to get that degree, to get my job. And then I was like, well, I want to trade, but I didn't have the capital. So, I had capital, but not enough to truly make decent, like good money from trading. So I started, just doing whatever I could. And man, it's not an easy path. Like, I had decent starting capital. I had started businesses before I ever started trading. I had 30, 40 grand. I've talked about, that before. And, it's one of those things. Even with that amount of capital, it's hard to make tons of money from trading, right? You got to have significant capital. And that was years ago. So, it's one of those things. Nick, thank you for that. Sometimes trading can be hard. So thank you for those kind words. It motivates me and keeps me. It's what it's all about, Pacific Inc. I'm not here to tell you guys what it's not or anything like that. If you watch my channel, you're going to get the real stuff, and that's it. I'm not going to tell you what it isn't. You got a lot of people on YouTube. I don't even watch that stuff anymore. I can't watch a lot of the creators. There's a handful of individuals that I really, really relate with and really enjoy watching their content, and find them very down to earth. I'll mention Akil Stokes. I really love his content, really down to earth guy. And the thing is, you also got people like Jason Greystone, a couple of good names out there for sure, that I don't mind name dropping. But then there's a lot of crap. There's a lot of junk out there. People telling you, oh, I've changed my life with Forex, made millions. And it's like, no, you probably didn't. It's that stuff is, I can't even watch it. It is so cringe. Yeah, I'm not gonna name names or anything like that, but you guys will know who's who just by, when you're I don't know, people who are down to earth like tend to, that's why I love this audience so much. You guys are so great because there's so many of you guys who are so down to earth, and like that motivates me to keep going, because I'm like, I want to build a community of people who are like down to earth. I don't want a bunch of people in the chat that are like, Nick, help us make millions tomorrow. Like, that's not what I'm here for. There's some great names in this audience. You guys are amazing. Like, I've met so many cool people. I had somebody, you guys check this out. I know we're stepping away from the charts, but stay with me for a moment. I had the coolest thing ever happen to me the other day. He might be in this chat. I don't know. I don't know who it is. I'm not going to say their name just because I like to keep people private. But I had a trip planned to head up to we have some land in Tennessee. My dad and I were headed up, and I had mentioned it on a stream. And somebody in the stream chat, they know who they are. They offered to have me come out to their restaurant. They had a restaurant on the way between where I'm at in Atlanta and Tennessee. And they literally said, hey, swing by the restaurant, lunch is on me or whatever. And I was just like, and they're a member inside of the group. And I was like, that is the nicest thing ever. Thank you so much for the offer. Unfortunately, it was it was a different direction from where we were headed. But it's just one of those things. Like that was when it became really real. Like my audience here on YouTube is some really cool people. And I'm just thankful for you guys. So really ugly heart for you guys. So thank you guys for that. I think next week is going to be a big one. We've got NFP, which is non-farm payroll, which is essentially, actually, you know what? Let's look at this. I'll pull it up for you. But again, I just thought that was the coolest thing when that happened. I was like, man, thank you for that offer. It just means a lot. So we'll pull this up, take a look at the calendar for next week, because next week's going to be a big one for my friends out there who are regulars in the stream. Next week, we will probably be doing a lot of coverage. The big one, of course, is going to be, let's go here, next week. There it is, on Friday of next week. So 1 week from today, got some big news in terms of CAD unemployment and US unemployment. And these figures are very important because, of course, unemployment in the US can be a huge telltale sign of how monetary policy can be in the future. It is a very watched release, the unemployment, the NFP, and then you've got also Canada at the same time. So things like dollar CAD next week might be in for some big, big moves. On the pound side of things, we've also got some big pound news coming in next week. You've got the monetary policy report, which sticks out. So big stuff there. Asset purchase facility. I'm not even sure what that is. Let's look at that. So this is the total value of money the Bank of England will create and use to purchase assets in the open market. Okay. So that has something to do with it increases demand for bonds, which usually leads to lower long-term interest rates. Ah, okay. Interesting. Okay. And then, of course, we've got some NZD unemployment rate, which is also important stuff. And then finally, the RBA rate statement. You guys, next week is going to be busy. So check into the stream next week. We're going to be looking at some stuff for sure and covering these market moving events to see what is going on with them. Anyways, you guys, that's going to wrap it up for me this week. Thanks, Scott, for that. Thank you guys all for the support and for hanging out with me throughout the different streams. A lot of you guys, I start noticing people who stick around for the long term. So I do want to say, if you're not already a part of our community, join us. It really is worth the money, I think. If you're a serious trader and you are looking for somewhere to be long term, like if you plan on trading for the next 10 years, you could pay for this membership one time and use it for 10 years, and the price would be like 10 cents a day. Right? If you use, we did the math, and it's like roughly, if you stuck around in the private group and you bought the gold membership for the 25% off sale, it would be $1 a day if you stuck around for a year, 50 cents for 2 years, and then this is where my math starts breaking down. But essentially, if you stuck around for like 5 years, it's very, very cheap. And we have people who have done that, people who have stuck around for a very long time. So if you have any interest in joining our private group, now's your chance to do so. Check out the link down below in the description. Guys, with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me this week. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out throughout the week. And we will see you back with some more trade ideas and coverage next week. Have a great weekend, you guys, and we'll see you next time.